Hello, esteemed gentlemen, and welcome to the channel. The most terrifying thing is a man who doesn't fear losing anything because he has already made peace with himself. In a world where most people scramble for approval, chase social hierarchies, and cling to the safety of predictable routines, there exists a rare breed of men who do none of the above, the Sigma male. They walk alone, not out of necessity, but by choice, and their mere presence seems to disrupt the unspoken rules of social interaction. People can't figure them out, and that's what makes them so unsettling. Here's a fact. Humans are wired to fear what they can't understand. The Sigma male, with his enigmatic demeanor and refusal to conform, embodies that mystery. He doesn't fit into neat categories like leader or follower, and it's not because he's trying to rebel. He simply operates on a level that leaves most people scratching their heads, or frankly, sweating. And here's the kicker, these guys don't even know they're doing it. Their natural behaviors, quiet dominance, unsettling insights, and an unshakable independence send shivers down the spines of those used to playing by the rules. It's as if they're walking plot twists in the story of life, and the rest of us are just trying to keep up. Get ready to dive into the 10 things Sigma males unknowingly do that instill total horror on people. Spoiler alert, by the end, you might start wondering if you've ever made someone nervously glance over their shoulder. Don't worry, it's probably nothing. Or is it? Number 1. Asking questions that hit too close to home. Sigma males have an uncanny knack for asking questions that cut straight to the heart of a matter, and sometimes straight through someone's emotional armor. It's not that they're trying to expose anyone, but their curiosity comes with an edge of precision that's almost unsettling. They don't dance around the obvious or settle for polite small talk. Instead, they zero in on the questions most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Why do you stay in a job you hate? Or do you even believe half the things you say? These aren't questions meant to wound. Yet, when posed by a Sigma, they have a way of catching people off guard, like stepping on a Lego barefoot. Suddenly, the listener is left scrambling for an answer, or worse, realizing they don't have one. The real horror lies in how natural it seems for a Sigma to land these existential punches. They're not trying to be cruel, but their genuine need to understand the world means they'll cut through layers of fluff most people use to protect their egos. It's like they're holding up a mirror, and instead of showing you a flattering angle, it reveals the flaws you thought no one noticed. The humor in it? A Sigma might genuinely wonder why everyone looks so uncomfortable. They'll shrug and say, "It's just a question," while the poor soul across from them suddenly contemplates their life choices. The brilliance of it is that Sigmas don't ask these questions to judge. They're simply fascinated by the truth. But for those who've spent years hiding from their own reflection, a conversation with a Sigma can feel like an unexpected therapy session, with no couch, no Kleenex, and definitely no escape. Number 2. Challenging people's perceptions of themselves. Interacting with a Sigma male can feel less like a conversation and more like staring into a mirror you didn't ask for. They don't set out to dismantle your carefully constructed self-image, but their way of being, calm, confident, and razor-sharp, has a way of shining a light on the cracks. A casual comment from a Sigma, something like, "You talk a lot about your goals, but what are you actually doing about them?" can hit harder than a full-blown lecture. It's not confrontational, it's just direct, and that makes it even harder to brush off. What makes this so unnerving is that they're not actively trying to expose your insecurities. It's just a side effect of their authenticity. They don't operate behind a mask, and that raw honesty can make people painfully aware of the masks they've been wearing. Being around them feels like being seen in high definition when you've only ever viewed yourself in soft focus. For those who avoid self-awareness, it's downright terrifying. A Sigma's presence forces a quiet reckoning. Choices you've ignored, weaknesses you've justified, dreams you've abandoned. It's not malicious. It's as if they reflect the things you've buried so deeply that even you forgot where you left them. And the worst part? They don't even realize they're doing it. The irony is that while others walk away shaken, Sigmas often remain oblivious, wondering why people react so intensely. To them, it's just a normal conversation. But to the person on the receiving end, It's like being dragged into a spotlight you didn't ask for, forced to face truths you've been dodging for years. It's not personal. It's just the nature of their presence to unsettle the comfortable and push people closer to the truth. Number 3. Unflinching eye contact that feels like X-ray vision. When a Sigma male locks eyes with someone, it's not the casual glance most people are used to. It's focused, deliberate, and unrelenting, like they're examining not just what you're saying, but what you're trying not to say. Their gaze has a way of making people feel uncomfortably exposed, as if they've skipped the surface level and gone straight to reading your inner monologue. It's not hostile, but it's definitely unsettling, like being caught in a lie, even when you're telling the truth. The discomfort comes from the fact that most of us are used to hiding behind a socially acceptable mask. With a Sigma's unwavering eye contact, though, it feels like there's no mask thick enough to hold. Their eyes seem to ask silent, probing questions. Why are you nervous? Why are you over-explaining? What are you afraid I'll see? And the scariest part is that they're not even judging you. They're just genuinely curious. For those who thrive on pretense or rely on charm to navigate social situations, a Sigma's gaze can be downright terrifying. It's like they've bypassed your words and gone straight to your intentions, exposing insecurities you didn't even realize were visible. People often find themselves shifting uncomfortably, averting their eyes, or even laughing nervously to break the tension. The humor in this lies in how little effort the Sigma puts into it. They're not trying to intimidate or dominate, it's just their natural way of paying attention. But the intensity of their focus leaves people squirming, wondering how much they've accidentally revealed. The Sigma, meanwhile, will often walk away, wondering why people are so bad at holding eye contact. For them, it's just looking. For everyone else, it's practically a psychological interrogation. Number 4. Radiating an aura of "I don't need you." Sigma. Males don't just demonstrate self-sufficiency, they radiate it. It's not just about being able to handle their own business or take care of their own needs. It's an almost existential vibe that says, I don't need anyone, and I'm perfectly fine with that. There's a quiet power in this that makes people feel unsettled, especially those whose sense of worth is rooted in the need to be needed. It's a terrifying realization for those who thrive on being the center of attention or in constant demand. When a Sigma walks into a room, it's immediately clear that he's not seeking validation, support, or approval from anyone. He exists on his own terms, and that independence makes him immune to the social games people often play to gain favor or attention. This sense of detachment leaves others feeling exposed, as if their usual tactics to seek importance or leverage fall flat in his presence. For people who derive their value from how indispensable they are to others, the Sigma's unbothered autonomy is like a cold splash of water. It challenges the very notion that relationships or interactions are about give and take in the way they're used to. The Sigma male's lack of dependency suggests that true value doesn't come from being needed. It comes from simply being, existing in the world without the need to justify your place in it. This radiating self-sufficiency leaves people scrambling to understand their own value in comparison. In the Sigma's world, the rules are different, and the anxiety this causes in others can be profound. While others might chase after validation, the Sigma walks through life unscathed by the need for anyone's approval, and that's a power that makes people question their own place in the world. Number 5. Evoking obsession without trying. A Sigma male doesn't need to do anything special to make people obsessed with him. In fact, the less he tries, the more powerful the effect. His aloofness, combined with an undeniable presence, creates an aura that draws people in, like a magnet with no visible force. It's not about charm or calculated actions, it's simply the way he moves through the world with complete self-sufficiency and indifference to the opinions of others. For some, this creates admiration, as they're captivated by his confidence and independence. To others, it sparks jealousy, as they can't fathom how someone can operate without seeking approval or validation. Then there's the third group, the ones who feel an almost irrational dislike, because the Sigma's effortless control of his own space forces them to confront their own dependence on the social games they play. Whichever emotion it triggers, the Sigma male occupies an oversized place in others' minds, often without saying a word. What makes this even more powerful is that the Sigma doesn't consciously do anything to elicit this reaction. He doesn't seek attention, doesn't try to manipulate feelings, and doesn't invest in drama. His very ability to remain emotionally distant while still being perceived as important makes him an enigma. People obsess over him, trying to figure out what makes him tick, what drives him, or even what it is about him they're drawn to. This obsession is a byproduct of his refusal to play by the usual social rules, and it's something they can't easily shake. The kicker, he doesn't care. Whether you admire, envy, or resent him, he remains unmoved, because in his world, the only opinion that matters is his own. This indifference is what drives people wild, fueling their fixation. Number 6, never over-explaining themselves. Sigma males rarely feel the need to explain themselves, and this simple fact creates a ripple effect that can be profoundly unsettling for those around them. They don't waste time justifying their decisions, whether it's about choosing a career path, walking away from a conversation, or pursuing an unconventional goal. They do what feels right for them, and that's the end of the story. For most people, this lack of justification is a puzzle they can't solve, and that's where the discomfort starts. In a world where everyone is constantly explaining themselves, why they acted a certain way, why they said something, why they're taking a particular approach, this refusal to over-explain feels like a challenge to the very need for social validation. People find themselves grappling for an explanation that isn't coming. It creates an aura of mystery, and the more someone tries to unravel it, the more elusive it becomes. What's unnerving is how it makes others question their own behavior. If the Sigma can act without needing approval or explanations, what does that say about them? What does it say about the overthinking, justification-seeking world around them? This often leaves people feeling exposed, like they're too wrapped up in trying to be understood, while the Sigma exists comfortably outside the need for that validation. It's also a silent power play. The Sigma male's ability to operate without providing answers to others' questions makes him seem like he holds all the cards. People are left wondering what drives him, what he really thinks, and why he doesn't feel the need to tell them. In the end, they might obsess over it, trying to decode his silence, while the Sigma simply enjoys the freedom of moving through the world on his terms, without the need to explain a thing. Number 7, being a mental mirror, without intending to. Interacting with a Sigma male often feels like having an unexpected, unscheduled therapy session. But without the safety net of a reassuring nod or a comforting, that's totally normal. It's not that they actively try to dissect you. Their natural way of questioning, observing, and engaging acts like a mirror, forcing you to see parts of yourself you've been happily ignoring. When a Sigma speaks or reacts, it's rarely with surface-level politeness. They cut through pleasantries with precision, leaving you to grapple with your own thoughts and behaviors. Say you're venting about a problem at work, and instead of validating your frustration, they casually ask, "But didn't you choose to stay in that environment?" Suddenly, you're confronted with your own complicity in the situation, and it stings, because it's true. What makes this even more unsettling is that they're not trying to provoke. They're not judging or pointing fingers. They're just being honest, often without realizing the impact their words have. But honesty is a tricky thing. It's not always comforting. For people who rely on external validation or thrive on narratives that shield them from hard truths, a conversation with a Sigma can feel like someone holding up a crystal-clear mirror to their carefully curated self-image. The funny part is that Sigmas are often oblivious to how much they're shaking up someone's internal world. They'll walk away from the conversation thinking it was no big deal, while the other person is left reeling, questioning their life choices. For the Sigma, it's just another day of being themselves. For everyone else, it's like being gently, but uncomfortably, shoved into the deep end of self-awareness. Number 8, mastering the art of absence. When a Sigma male disappears, it's not dramatic or confrontational. It's quiet, precise, and often without warning. One moment, they're fully engaged, and the next, they're gone. There's no explanation, no closure, and certainly no lingering guilt on their part. For everyone else, though, their sudden absence feels like a black hole, pulling in questions, doubts, and self-reflection. What makes this so unsettling is the vacuum they leave behind. People aren't used to someone leaving without seeking validation, offering excuses, or making a spectacle of their departure. It's not an act of punishment or manipulation. It's simply a Sigma's way of preserving their energy and autonomy. They don't stick around out of obligation, and if a situation no longer serves them or aligns with their goals, they'll walk away without hesitation. For those left behind, it can be maddening. A Sigma's withdrawal triggers a spiral of overthinking. Was it something I said? Did I do something wrong? Are they upset with me? The truth is often simpler. They just don't care for unnecessary noise or superficiality. But that absence, paired with their mysterious nature, leads people to fill in the blanks with their own insecurities. Ironically, Sigmas are usually unaware of the chaos their departure creates. To them, leaving is simply a practical decision, not a statement. But for others, their absence feels heavy, like an unresolved question hanging in the air. People may even obsess over how to win them back or regain their attention, which only reinforces the Sigma's power. Without meaning to, they masterfully command attention even when they're not there. Because sometimes, what's missing speaks louder than what's present. Number 9. Seeing through people's self-curated public personas. Sigmas have an almost eerie ability to see through the carefully constructed personas people present to the world. It's not something they study or try to master. It's simply an instinct they can't turn off. While others might be fooled by loud confidence, charm, or the image someone projects, Sigmas notice the inconsistencies, the overcompensations, the subtle slips in tone, or the way someone's energy doesn't match their words. This isn't about malice or calling people out. Sigmas don't expose anyone outright. What makes their perception so unnerving is that they don't need to. Their quiet understanding of who someone really is, their fears, insecurities, and motives, feels palpable without them saying a word. It's as if the Sigma holds a silent magnifying glass over someone's soul, and that silent awareness alone can make people squirm. For someone who spent time curating their public image, this can feel terrifying. A Sigma doesn't buy into the surface-level narrative, and no amount of bragging, posturing, or social armor works on them. They see the cracks where confidence is really insecurity, where generosity is a bid for attention, or where happiness is a mask for dissatisfaction. What's worse? Sigmas don't usually acknowledge this insight. They just carry it with quiet certainty. The unsettling part for others is the not knowing. Did the Sigma notice something they were trying to hide? Are they silently judging? Are they forming an opinion based on the truths no one else seems to see? The answer is usually yes, but not in the way people fear. Sigmas aren't concerned with passing judgment. They're just wired to see reality without the comforting filters most people depend on. And that's enough to make anyone feel exposed. Number 10. Reading the room like a forensic analyst. When a Sigma male walks into a room, they're not just there. They're observing, absorbing, and decoding. While others might focus on the loudest voice or the most dominant personality, Sigmas tune into the subtle, almost imperceptible dynamics beneath the surface. They notice the glance someone quickly averts, the faint tension in someone's posture, the way one person's voice falters when another enters the conversation. It's like they're running a silent forensic analysis, piecing together what's not being said. This skill can be unnerving for people who rely on the camouflage of group settings to hide insecurities or agendas. A Sigma might not call you out, but their quiet awareness makes you feel as though they've already figured out what you're trying to conceal. They don't need gossip or obvious signals. They see the things others miss, and their presence alone can feel like a spotlight shining on unspoken truths. Even more unsettling is their ability to stay 2 steps ahead in social dynamics. They predict shifts in power, alliances, or conflicts before they even happen. Someone who thrives on control might find themselves inexplicably uncomfortable when a Sigma enters the room, sensing that their usual tricks won't work. It's not paranoia, it's the silent realization that the Sigma sees through the game. The irony? Sigmas rarely do this intentionally. They're not out to expose anyone. They simply can't help but notice the things others ignore. To them, it's second nature. But for those who prefer to keep their cards close, being around a Sigma feels like sitting at a poker table with someone who can see straight through the deck. And they're not even playing. In a world driven by social validation, constant interaction, and the desire to be seen and needed, Sigma males move through life like a force of nature that's impossible to define or control. Their mysterious, self-sufficient energy is magnetic, and yet it creates an undercurrent of discomfort in those around them. With their ability to cut through the noise, expose hidden truths, and exist in a realm that doesn't rely on anyone else's approval, they challenge the very fabric of what makes people feel secure in their identities. What makes Sigma males so unsettling isn't that they're trying to be provocative, it's that they simply are. They don't try to play the game, and yet they leave everyone else grappling with their own insecurities, biases, and desires for control. They don't need to dominate conversations or posture for attention. Their mere presence forces others to confront their own limitations, questions, and personal narratives. They live by their own rules, and that leaves those around them feeling like they're scrambling to catch up. It's this subtle power, this effortless ability to leave an indelible mark on people without even trying, that makes them so fascinating and terrifying. For the people who need to be needed, who cling to social dynamics for value, the Sigma male is an enigma that can't be solved. And that's what makes him unforgettable. So while the world might continue its chase for validation and attention, the Sigma will keep moving, unaffected by the noise, and utterly indifferent to the world's expectations. He is the living embodiment of the truth that sometimes the greatest power lies in simply being yourself, and that's what makes him impossible to ignore. If you found this exploration into the fascinating world of Sigma males as intriguing as we did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on more eye-opening content. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your own experiences or insights. If you found this video helpful, make sure to share it with friends or anyone who might appreciate a deeper dive into this unique personality. Your support helps us bring more of these exceptional discussions to life, so go ahead, like, share, and engage. We can't wait to hear from you.